Thank you. Good morning. Thanks for the commitment. Uh, the last day after the Fiorentina is a hard time, 9 o'clock. So, thank you. Today, I will be talking about the Internet of Things and its evolution in general. I decided to change a bit my talk from the talks I've been having with many people around on Friday and yesterday. The original talk was a little bit more into technical. The second part was a bit more into technical stuff. Um, this is a bit more about, it touches some technical aspects, but also touch how is the PyData in the Python community and language evolving towards um, this direction. So I think it's from the feedback I think it's maybe it's more addressed. So about me. Fabio, I'm a software engineer at Continuum. I'm one of the core dev developers. You can grab me on Twitter, on GitHub, or on email. Um, I'm also very committed to the community. I've been helping with the Python Italia since we founded it in 2007. Helped with the organization in the previous years. I'm the current chairman of the EuroPython Society, and that promotes the EuroPython conference around Europe. And then overall, I really believe in the community side of things, especially for the Python ecosystem. Um, about Continuum a little bit. We are a company that is very committed in the Python world. We we have interest in many domains like finance, geophysics, defense, computing, etc. We are also very interested in specific technologies, most more than others, maybe, because of the scientific background of the company, like array processing, GPU, data visualization, machine learning, and many other things related to the scientific world. And we have a strong commitment to open source. We have developed in the last year and promoted many software and open source projects that we believe can fill some gaps in the Python ecosystem. We are very committed to the community. We believe that community is one of the most powerful strengths of Python world, and we try as best to sponsor events, promote events to people to get to connect with each other and share knowledge. So let's start from the beginning, right? So we're talking about evolution today, and this is sort of how our the mankind evolved during these years. Our society is very driven by many things that we created. So before this question, I want to know to ask you how many of you are actually Python developers, and how many of you are kind of not computer science background, but scientific background. So who here are computer science background developers? Okay. And who here is more scientific? Oh, okay. Half and half. And who here like used Python for more than 1 year or on professional? Cool. That's very good. Okay. Okay. So, what makes the difference between humans and other beings? Mostly tools, right? We build tools that help us to fill the gaps and the weakness we have comparing to other species. Like, we are not the strongest, we are not the faster, we are not better vision we have, but we have um, such intelligence that help us and let us create tools that help us. We are, since the beginning, we are, well, society is a very early, recent concept, but fundamentally we are a technology-driven society. So we shape the world by our needs, inventing tools, inventing technology that help us. So just quickly, we can say we had a zero revolution when the first humans actually started observing and say, okay, that's fire is a phenomenon that we can reproduce, and we can build like the wheel that can help us with our daily life. Okay. And if you think about it, that time, how fast was the evolution of the humankind? It was like in centuries, thousands of years. Then we had another revolution, agricultural revolution, that basically, a small change. The man said, the human being said, okay, we now can reproduce and have agriculture, and we don't need to go and hunt and go gather our food, so we can settle down. It was a long time ago, and it actually, this revolution stood for thousands of years. And as I said, it helped to shape the first kind of socialization, and first kind of, it was not more about the tools, but the tools were changing the society, were creating a kind of society. And as they had new society, people actually started getting together. The previous laws, they didn't apply anymore. The previous ways of communicating, they didn't apply anymore because they had new inputs. They had more people being together, like families that used to be alone, they started getting together and started to trusting each other and respect each other and communicating to each other. And if you think, that time was still very slow in the human evolution. And getting closer to our era, our times, we have another revolution. Which one? Industrial Revolution. It was in between 18th and 19th centuries. And is it still occurring now? I don't know, maybe. For sure, in some countries, we still have the Industrial Revolution. For some kind of slices of our society, we are still facing an Industrial Revolution, or the effects of the Industrial Revolution. Actually, human beings started to actually use more power, create not tools, but machines that actually could do the hard work for them. And humans, on the other side, controlled those machines. And this created a new, improved way of society, or new forms of organization. And it led people to actually have more powerful, more strong relations, more strong laws, more bureaucracy, more technology. And given the time frame, it's very easy to say that it was much faster. I'm not talking about speed. It's about acceleration. Okay, it's very clear that every era is accelerating. So, some common traits are that we are becoming more powerful and efficient because we are finding ways to help our needs. And basically, we are in now because we have we are applying science and technology and research that we have been doing in theory, and this concept was very slow during all the evolution, but right now it's incredibly fast. So who here think that we are in the middle of a third revolution? One. Okay. Think about how fast is the world evolving today. And let's take the last 20 years. It's 95, okay? How communication was in 95. How someone could communicate with his family in the other side of the world. Think about, could you have people trolling on somewhere without the internet? Or could you have the chance to call or send messages to your friends? Like, if you 95 still, but in the 80s, if you saw someone with a cell phone talking on the street, what would you say? He's a crazy person, right? If you think about the last century, like from the time that took human to invent a machine, and then the time that it took to go to the space, it's really crazy. So this is a research from the Nebraska University about rates of time travel in the US. In the 1800, it took a day to basically stay in New York, right? And it took 6 weeks to go in the middle of the east part of the US. Then probably you have died. It's not complete because, you know, it's very long journey. 30 years later, you cut that time by half, okay, because of inventions. Actually, another 30 years, you wouldn't have died. You could go to LA and chill, okay? 60 years later, no, 70 years later, actually it took 3 days to go from coast to coast. Okay, that's actually a long time. 130, it's a long time. But now think of communications. When you, in the 95, 96, connected to the internet, and people said, okay, I send you a picture. And you had this crappy connection, you had to stay there waiting, okay, downloading. And how was the internet? How was the media? How hard it was to hear some audio files, you know? And now we talk about megabyte, gigabytes connection. If you, we still think as personal users, but take the numbers, take the connections, take the performance of companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon. They talk about thousands and thousands and thousands of petabytes every day on the internet. Think about how you think internet is connected between Europe and Americas. Anyone here have a guess? Cable. Like they drop a cable in the ocean. Like it's really crazy if you think like 20 years ago, something about that. The technical difficulties we have today, they are massive, they are huge, but we now have the power and the knowledge to get through them, not in decades, but in years, in months. really the speed is amazing. And today we have those things that never in history we had. Like we have information ubiquity. So it's really easy and cheap for you to go and grab information you need if you take the right place. Okay, we have a lot of bad information actually on the web. Access to technology. You can go to both third world countries, first, well, I don't like to talk this way, but less evolved countries. Many people have cell phones. Like maybe they don't have good access to primary needs, like, I don't know, clean water, sanitation, but most of them have a cell phone. Like Nigeria is a very good example. They have a very developed mobile and technology, but it's a really a country with very bad problems about war, about human with bad conditions. We have access to data more than now. Now we have access to a lot of data, and it's getting more and more. But I'm not only talking about public data, also private data. Oh. Okay. Sorry. It's getting back.
Computer needs caffeine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's an app called caffeine.
Okay. Wait, it's weird. No. Okay. Yeah, we'll connect. Thank you. Okay. And connectivity, of course. I already said how easy is it to connect to other people. Thank you. Society. How is this changing the society? Well, it's very easy to understand that society is changing, right? Human relations are changing. Take a look at restaurants when you go out and how people interact now and how they used to interact 20 years ago or 10 years ago. People are usually sharing photos, taking selfies, looking at their phone. And actually, the way we will evolve now is kind of unpredictable. How is the humankind going to evolve? We have a lot of access to information and misinformation. I really care about this thing, like access to information and misinformation, because today it's very easy to spread a lot of bad things, a lot of misinformation, and people are influenced by that. Like the campaigns you see on the web, around sharing data that is not true, or maybe it's true but is put in a way to get to your point. And as we are in the Pi data track and we care about science, okay, it's very important that us as a community keep the method human finally discovered after thousands of years, the scientific method, that if you make a point, if you make a theory, you go through a process. Not only that you have data, a chart that shows that it's convenient for you, and you show that, and people say, okay. So like movements that, I will talk about that later. Okay. We have new kind of problems like privacy, data protection. We didn't have these kind of things 20 years ago or 30 years ago. Public safety, and we have to balance about that. Nowadays, when a service is free, I'm not an advocate for one part of or the other. I think everybody should be conscious about the fact that when you have something for free, you are selling something. Like you are okay with selling your position or you are selling your information. So not it can be taken in a bad way or in a good way. Depends. So actually, it's nice if I go to a website and I see that depending on my navigation, my behavior on the internet, I have ads that reflects my interests. But if the company or the person on the other side use that information for bad behaviors, that's not a good thing. And we have a powerful sharing idea now of sharing things. Also, like I think it's very interesting to understand now how the borders, the national border, cultural borders, will be influenced by that. For many countries, internet is a very bad thing to have because many countries are based on control or their own power nation, and they don't want people to know what is outside. Economy, we have new kinds of economy evolving. We have the sharing economy that is coming over. There are many articles very interesting in the finance and the economic world that talk about the new sharing economy and maybe an evolution of the capitalism. How it will impact on the traditional economy and the crowdfunding and the crowdsourcing movements. Honestly, like, could you imagine how the world will be in 10 years? And do you think we will have a good guess? I personally can imagine in 2-3 years, but in 10 it's very hard, really. And I can tell if it's going to be better or worse, honestly.
Or both.
Or both, yeah. Technology. That's the golden age, right? It's for us as technology and scientific folks. It's really the golden age. Like, you have access to information. Think how hard our research was many years ago when we didn't have internet to say, okay, let's look at of other researchers, what they are doing in my field, how they share their knowledge, how they share their results. Now you can share that stuff. How many people here used to or played Civilization, the game? Okay, few. It had this kind of technology tree that you can go and research and evolve your civilization. And it started very... Oh, this is the wrong slide, okay. I didn't have the first one is actually, it evolves like in a similar way what I go through from the agriculture, revolution, tools, wheel, and everything. And then the future is particle physics, nuclear fusion, okay, nanotech, and future tech. This is the future area. I could say that we are touching the future area, okay, in many aspects. So it's a win, right? In the game, it's a win. Well, the significant drivers are the sharing movement. I will go faster to dedicate some time later. It's driven really by open source, the shared economy, the shared knowledge, and the Internet of Things. I think that without those things, we wouldn't have this acceleration in the last few years. Like, so personal lives are on the web. If you use the web as a geek or use as a normal user, you are in the web. Who's not connected to Facebook or other social? You have more and more smart devices that led to smart cities. You have smart cars. And think about how much data all this stuff is creating. Data, 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 data. And if you care about it because you are a researcher, that's okay. But if you are a company, you should be caring about that because it tells about your product. Either your product is the user or either your product is some technical device. And I would be brave enough to say that And the internet revolution started in the 95, and now I would say that we are starting to have a new revolution. I don't know if the classification of revolution is right, but for sure this is something that is going to change the world in the next years, I think, because business that believed in the internet, they took that time and said, okay, this is the future. This is something that I should be investing. They took it right. And I think it's happening the same thing for the data. And just to mention, data have a weight, right? Not only and a size. You have amounts of data, and you have channels to transmit it, and if your channel have a capacity. So to transmit all the stuff, you need to think about technical solutions to do that, and the same to store. Well, repetition of what I said, like the life is in the internet. We have probably the new jobs and jobs in the next future. We will require you to be able to interact with devices and know how to do it. And it's probably that many jobs that didn't have to, they will need to do some kind of data exploration or know how to use tools. And from management, people that don't have this kind of ground on technology knowledge, they think data analysis is simple tools. Simple tools that just, you drop your data, it will show you, oh, just display this data as a nice bar chart or a nice line, and you see that magic number or that magic behavior that tells you, oh, you should be fire those people, or like invest on this other department. But it's not that. It doesn't work like this. You need to actually, now more than ever, we need to, it's not just stats and numbers, it's creating models, creating hypotheses, invest on new resources and computational power to actually get through this in time. And I think that in the next future, it's very important for us to remember that an analysis, an analytical language is not software, it's thoughtware. You need to express something, okay? You need to make it easy and accessible for people that don't have strong knowledge to use it. It needs to be used easy, and it needs to be glue, meaning that you don't have to have interrupts on your flow to change technology. Okay. Well, what's the Python role and PyData role in this? Its role it's because of its, I think it's because of its expressiveness and agility. It's accessible. It's easy compared to other solutions, especially in the last decades. It's glue. It's really glue. Like if you have software and libraries in Fortran or you C or in other languages, it's kind of easy more than others to wrap those libraries and use it inside Python. And it's glue in the sense of it's very used on different disciplines, like DevOps, scientists, computer science people, people that like to just go on the internet and crawl stuff for web services. It's really on all over the place. And Python is cool, right? We all love Python. More on the PyData or the Python world. It's stable now. Really, it's more than 15 years, but actually it's 15 years of mature and growing maturity of adoption and growth. It's easy integration. It's very easy. Python is everywhere. And one strong point is that it's a language created for education, right? So it lowered the barrier for new users to come and use it. That's very strong trait. Just a quick look to get to my point that it's mature. 1989, 91, it started. 94, you had the first 01 release. IPython started growing in 2001, Matplotlib in 2002. NumPy, it's actually kind of new, but it's already 10 years, right? And it's based on the work that started many years ago. Scikit-learn pandas. Pandas, okay, it's new, but in nowadays, it's 6 years old. It's very mature. And same for IPython notebook. Okay, so going ahead, data revolution have big tech challenges from security, governance, storage, etc., etc. But we have also other bigger challenges probably, like welcoming new users that are not computer scientists, that are consuming data and consuming computer science and stuff. Okay, I will skip that part because we don't have much time. But basically, what I was saying is that it's very important that to keep a scientific method. It's hard for us as a computer scientist to say that because many times our solution for problems is say shut down and restart your computer. Okay, that's not scientific, right? Okay, but we need to be scientific on the data and the analysis we do on data. And the reality is that many contributions, especially in the Python world, is that non-computer scientists, non-engineers are doing a lot of stuff. Think about the tools we have in our community that are not done by people with a computer science degree. I think most of the packages are in this situation. Why Python? Also, because Python is good enough for most things. That's what scientists and people that are not computer geeks, they don't care about the difference if it's compiled or not. They don't get they don't care about the difference if it's slower than C or slower than other language. They care if it gets the job done in a good enough time. And we need to be prepared to welcome these people and help them add quality to our community. And we actually we are in a good position, I think, because right now, nowadays, we are in a very good moment where Python packages, Python projects, they come with a huge quality compared to enterprise projects or enterprise software, and compare the number of tasks, compare the number of the quality of documentation and the spread of documentation, the feedback and the support you get from the community and the code. Most of projects have code review and people help each other to grow and improve quality. That's a very strong power in the Python community. Python itself, community and motivation. That's a big win. Yeah, as I already said, what are the challenges for us to welcome new people? People that they install Python, they don't want to go and compile it or matter about compilation projects, problems on Windows, on Linux, etc. So we need to get rid of the bad user experiences. We need to, for how hard it is for people in big companies to say, let's use Python. Big companies will say, no, we don't have any support for that. Instead, we would like to pay high price for support in enterprise support. And that's one gap that we are trying to fill in Continuum. Like, we want our community and everything to be open source, but if people need to need support for an enterprise, we can say, okay, we have people that can help you in a balanced way. We do the same for packaging, like Conda is to stab a problem. Same for many other projects we have, because we really believe that Python is the next thing, and we want that to continue with the open source and the sharing philosophy. Another myth is there's not enough good Python programmers around. Well, I would claim it's not true. How many good Java programmers are there? I would say the same number, right? Statistics. Lack of information. the Python is a new language. We saw that it's not true. And lack of domain experts, it's not true as well. Again, to strong the point that Python is used for almost many technology of a stack. So it's actually good to have people that can blur the lines. So what is the future? In my opinion, future, and to finish, future is really being a community, a strong community that can welcome people with different knowledge and do their stuff. We need to be honest, especially in the data world, Python has grown amazingly, but there are many other tools that are there for many other years that started as scientific languages. Take R, for instance. Okay, R, nobody can deny that R have more maturity in modeling or doing computation and scientific problems. But what is the difference? R was born with this reason or this in mind. Python started with education in mind, and it's evolving, taking a long road. So in the future, in the long term, I would like to say that Python got the same point as R and have all the other stuff for you users. Flexibility and integration. It needs to be flexible, integrate with other endpoints, and it needs to be accessible. Thanks. I hope you enjoyed, and come talk with me later about this kind of stuff. I would love to hear what you're doing, how our community and everyone can help each other. Thank you again.
Thanks a lot, Fabio. We have time just for one quick question. Anyone? Okay, no questions. So thanks again.
Thank you.